Hi, I'm Rebecca. I am a support group leader for Endo UK here in Merseyside. So I've been doing it for maybe about 2 years, and then I had a little break while me and my husband went through IVF. And I always said I'd come back, so here I am again. So I'm just going to talk through a few points that have been brought up, maybe a few questions that hopefully will cover what you guys want and need to know. So when I was first diagnosed, I was 26. So that's a long time from the very first time that I first had my symptoms. And my symptoms started when I was 14, when my periods hit and I was literally just in the bathroom needing to wee and I couldn't stand up. My dad picked me up off the floor and he knew straight away that it wasn't something that was normal for a typical female period. So that was when it first started. I went to the GP at 15 explaining that the conditions that I was getting, the symptoms I was struggling with, and they sent me away, basically put me on the pill and give me some information that wasn't very helpful. So then it gets to teenage years, and that's when they kept doing STI tests, which is not very helpful and is very, as you can imagine, it's embarrassing. At the ages of 18 to 24, it constantly happens to urine samples. And then finally, when I was 26, they diagnosed me with endometriosis and infertility. So that's a little bit of my life story of endometriosis. So a bit about my role as the support group leader. It is amazing, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on this webinar. It is something that gives you an insight to people's lives that a lot of people don't see, and some of their loved ones don't see it because they're not as open with them, because it isn't a nice topic. It is a topic where you need to speak about periods and we need to talk about sex and fertility, and it is a difficult conversation to have. So I'm very blessed to be able to be in that room with those women who get up every, or those who have endometriosis, and get on with it every single day. And yeah, so we just get together, whether it's on something like Zoom or in person, and just do our best to give our life experience and information and support. So there's a lot to the role, but that's just a brief idea of what we do as support group leaders. So as an emotional and practical support, those who support me are, I've got my husband who is absolutely amazing. He's just over there listening in. He's been supportive since the day we met. I've got my mum and dad who are amazing, and I've got work colleagues who are really, thankfully work for the NHS, and they are extremely supportive. And they is friends I've met in Endo and my best friends. So they provide the practical support in the ways that I suppose if I can't on a day-to-day basis, get myself out of bed and I'm not feeling like I can go to work, of course, it's the only thing we can do, go home early. So that's the kind of practical emotional support that I get from work. They're very empathetic and supportive. My husband, he's forever saying, if you need anything, please just let me know. Even when I go to bed early, he said, wake me up if you need to. And then, yeah, my friends and family are just, I've been very, very lucky, and I'm aware of it, and I can't say thank you enough to everybody. Then when it comes to what to do if you feel like, from your point of view as a supporter of someone with endometriosis, if you feel like you're not understanding what the person needs, it's always good to maybe just say, this is what I'm getting from what you're saying. Is there anything Am I getting it right? Is there anything that you can tell me more? Can you explain a little bit better? Just make sure that you're on the same page, because when they're opening up, the best thing for you is just know what they're saying to you, and knowing how you can support them. Another support is Enzo UK, and they picked me up when I was at my lowest. If it wasn't for this role, then I don't know how I would have got through my past relationship, which broke down due to partly endometriosis and my infertility. So Endo UK, I can't say thank you enough for that either. So it's a little bit, I hope I've covered stuff. If not, please pop some questions in the chat and I'll happily answer them. So practical support I've had from others that I found helpful, and stuff that I've not found so helpful. The helpful practical part is, I guess, make hot water bottles. I live with hot water bottle on bad days. Get the medication from the doctors. It's loved ones just taking on those tasks that maybe on a day-to-day basis that are easy for some, but for us it isn't a simple task. It's fatiguing, it's uncomfortable, it gets you down an awful lot. And day-to-day tasks, not just that make the hot water bottles, it's maybe bringing us some food or offering us a lift to work or school, wherever we might be going. Not so helpful tips of what people kind of have said. So I suggest maybe don't think what you need, like a walk would help you. Everybody's different with endometriosis. Personally, exercise doesn't help for me. It makes things worse, especially when it comes to excessive walking or cycling. So think about what they've said they need, what does help and what doesn't help, and try and suggest things around that area. And sometimes it's best not to always try and have something to say, just listen. Me and Emma were talking about this before. Sometimes things are said that aren't needed, and they come across more of a upsetting thing more rather than a positive aspect. So what's never really been helpful for someone to do when providing the support is saying things like, I had a counselling session after, and I just use this as an example, the counselling session after IVF failed, and I was told by my counsellor to embrace my infertility. I still don't know what that means to this day, and it's an ongoing joke between myself and my husband. Like, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm just embracing my infertility. That's saying something that kind of feels like it needs to be said. It's just listening is key. So that's just one example. I've been asked, would a hysterectomy help? These are big things to say to somebody. So know your information. Don't think because it helps for me or your family member, it could help for somebody else. Don't assume, so to speak. And when it comes to healthcare professionals, when they've suggested maybe a hysterectomy at such a young age, or maybe getting pregnant, which of course is difficult sometimes with endometriosis, make sure you challenge them. Be there for your loved one, and be there and be at present at the appointments if they would like you there. Listen for them, and challenge things like that. Challenge them giving you hormonal treatment. If you feel something's not right, challenge it again. It's always a second opinion. You're allowed a second opinion. Hope the other two healthcare professionals on the meeting will back me when I say they won't be offended by it. So yeah, just try and listen, and don't try and say something for the sake of it, because I think sometimes that can be more hurtful. Sometimes I need time on my own, and I think a lot of people need that. when I need time on my own is usually when I'm I've got anxiety and depression, which is partly due to endometriosis. And I used to be a robot. I'd be able to do things one after the other. And that's something that I am sad to say is part of endometriosis. You can't do what you used to be able to do in some respects. So that gets me down. Sometimes I just need to kind of lock myself away and deal with those emotions, deal with the reality of it's not that I can't do them anymore. I just have to pace myself, or I have to pick what's important and what's not. Um, it can get so exhausting. I've just done a full work day. I might then need to sleep as soon as I get home from work. And then if we get some bad news, it's like anybody getting bad news. If you've just heard that you've got endometriosis, sometimes you need time to process that on your own before you can then reach out to your loved ones. So please try not to see it as them cutting you out. Maybe they're just trying to accept the news themselves before they can explain how they feel or discuss it with you. For example, infertility for myself. So yeah, sometimes we do just need time on our own. And it can vary, the support that we need. It can vary from when we were first diagnosed to now being like now. I was 26, I'm 31 now, so it's very different. The support I required when I was first diagnosed was, I think it's like a bit of a blur. So just help them through it, sit down with them, learn about it, get involved, signpost them to places like Endo UK, encourage them to see what's out there, look at the positive stories as well. I know it's not always positive, there's negatives to it as well, but just keep in mind that with endo, it's not a condition that is specific to everybody. I might be infertile, but I know lovely people who have managed to have children and part of the support group who got told they couldn't. So there's hope out there. Where for now, I'm pretty much okay. I know how to deal with my pain. I know how to deal with the situations. But I still need my support network around me. So I will, when I'm out with my parents, like I was at the beach on Sunday with my parents, I need them just understanding that I might get fatigued a bit quicker, or I need them to accept that I can't go to an event, or my husband accepts that maybe I can't do as much around house on certain days. So just keeping that in mind and not thinking, oh, they're not doing their fair share or they don't want to be here. Just keeping at the forefront of your minds that this is a lifelong condition, and the only time that we ever kind of get any relief from it is when we then go through our menopause, which of course is the next battle. Stages of the menstrual cycle as well, that can vary the support. When I'm ovulating, personally, the pain is at the worst. So I am just kind of out of action, then it's needing my husband to pick up the chores that I can't do, or taking my time at certain events and saying I can't do this, and you going, okay, how can I help? What can I do? I'm here, just tell me and I'll do it. And the first few days of your period can be hard as well. So I don't know, I know some dads or husbands might not feel comfortable going out and buying tampons and towels, but you know, it's something that is massive. Like my husband has to do it for me. So that, yeah, it's so appreciated that we know you're in an uncomfortable situation. And then the aftermath of a period in general is it's exhausting. Chronic fatigue comes out of it. It's I just want to sleep. You may be a bit more irritable. So again, a bit of patience. No, sometimes it might not feel like it's real. My past relationship used to say that I use it as an excuse to be moody. And I just want to say to anybody out there who thinks that when we're on hormonal medication or we're not on hormone medication, we don't do it because we want to. Believe me, we do not want to react in the way that we react on hormones or when we're tired. We want to be able to run a marathon. We want to be able to take over the world. So please just know anyone out there who it's kind of like it's you hear the word hypochondriac. It's not. It is a very difficult disease, and it varies from person to person. And then during painful flare-ups, and sometimes we end up in hospital. Thankfully, I've only been to hospital once, and I had all my loved ones there to support me. And yeah, just I guess know that they may need you. They may need you there at the hospital, so make sure that you keep your contact details up to date with the hospital so that if they do need to get in touch, that they can. And I asked my husband about this question as well about what do I need during flare-ups because I think I'm a bit of a pain, but he said not at all. He thinks that and maybe he's being nice, but he says that he thinks that I just want more home comforts, which is not usually like me. I usually just kind of fight through and get on with it. So that was nice to hear that I'm not too much of a handful. And I think the important things to know when supporting someone with endo is we know we can't be fixed. We know that there's no magical cure for endometriosis. What we want to know is that you are going to be there, that you will listen, that you will say to us, how can I help? What can I do? I'm here, no matter how big or small. And yeah, just in general, try and take on board what they need and don't say, well, running helped here, so it will help you. And I can't say enough patience and support. Listen. And if you've got any questions, if you are struggling yourself, there is help for you too. There's support out there for you. And yeah, I suppose I hope I've covered everything, Emma, and I hope that I've given everyone an insight to a little bit of how to support somebody on what you may face. But if I haven't, like I say, please pop it in the chat and I'll happily answer.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. That was so comprehensive. I really valued every kind of like aspect that you covered as well. And just thank you for being so open and honest. I really appreciate that. And hopefully the people listening can take what you've said on board and it's really helped them as well. So I certainly will be watching this talk again. And we haven't even gotten to Debbie and Claudia. So yeah, I'm so excited.
Thank you very much.
No, it's been great. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce, well, Debbie. Yeah, take it away, Debbie.
Thank you. And thank you very much. You've covered absolutely everything. So I'm just going to put my talk up and then we can go through. So how to support others. And I'm going to concentrate on the practical things. And actually, Rebecca's covered most of the things, but we'll go through anyway and see. So firstly, and it goes back to what Rebecca was saying about empathy and not saying, it's not, I feel sorry for you. It's trying to put yourself in someone else's position and be there and help and communicate. And I think that's what Rebecca was talking about, the communicating, the listening to what's happening, the hearing what people are saying rather than hearing what you think they're saying, and then repeating back what you think they want you to say. So things like, oh, it's just a bad period, everyone has bad periods, etc. That's not really helpful at all. So it is about understanding, it's about listening, and about recognizing that you might not have the right words. And quite often we don't have the right words when we talk to people, but actually listening to someone and just being there for them is really important. So empathy with communication is really good. Be aware, and again, this goes back to what Rebecca was saying. I think if you're supporting someone, you need to do your reading. You need to know about endo. You need to know about the different stages of endo. You need to know about the signs and symptoms of endo. You need to know where it is, how much of it there is, and what particular symptoms are affecting the person that you're supporting, because they can all be so different, and they can vary as well. And also know about what symptoms are their main important ones, what helps and what makes it worse. Because as Rebecca illustrated, running's not for her, but that some exercise or some gentle exercise may be for someone. So find out what helps and what doesn't help, and then know about the treatments, and particularly the side effects of treatments as well. I think that's really important to know, that if someone's taking some hormones, that they may be really grumpy, because that's sometimes what hormones do, or they may make people feel uncomfortable, or they may make people feel even more anxious as well, because some of the progesterone hormones can affect anxiety and mood. So know what you're taking, and know what the person you're supporting is taking. Find out about the side effects, find out what those potential side effects can be, and look out for it. And also know what to do if you need help. So it's important to know the numbers of the clinic, so that you can call someone if you need some advice, if the person you're supporting can't do that or isn't in a position to do that, and also know where you would go for that. Track the symptoms. So there's all sorts of period trackers out there. If someone isn't taking hormones, or even if they are, it might be helpful to track the symptoms, and then you can be aware that maybe, like Becca was saying, at certain times like ovulation or around the period or after the period, it's not good to plan a full-on party at that point, because there's a chance it's going to be cancelled. So I think knowing that symptoms, knowing those side effects, knowing the cycle that you've got, trying to track it, trying to keep a track of things for people, so that you can just be aware of what's happening, is all things that can be really helpful, without someone have to say, I've got lots of pain today because I'm ovulating. If you know that that's happening, then that can be helpful. Don't say, and I think this has been covered as well, I know how you feel, it could be worse, it's just a period pain, because they're not helpful, and you don't know how anyone feels, and everyone's experience is completely individual and completely different. And sometimes when you're lying on the bathroom floor crying and not able to stand up, what could be worse? What would you be saying that could be worse at that point? So I think there's things that you quickly learn not what to say when you're supporting people. And pain is exhausting. It does cause chronic fatigue. It can impact on all life and all health, mental health, physical health, social well-being as well. So it is exhausting having pain all the time. And equally, it's exhausting anticipating having pain coming back at certain times and knowing what that's going to be like. And I think if you're aware of that someone is anticipating the pain, it's quite useful to then think about how that might impact on people. So enough painkillers is really important. You were saying about getting medications. That was one of the things I thought you need to make sure there's enough painkillers around, or enough medication around, or whatever you had. Heat pads and hot water bottles, really important. Food that people like. So if you're on a period and you've got pain, you're feeling sick, you might not want to tuck into a massive dinner. You might want some soups, or you might want something that's light. But just be aware of what someone likes and then get them for them. Running a hot bath for people if they want that. Making sure that the beds are changed and clean, and that there's blankets on the sofa, and you've got a good stock of films to watch, or some baths and things, and then just getting drinks and things, and just trying to help someone who doesn't really feel that they're able to get up and do very much at that point. At appointments, go with someone, always take someone. So we know from doing an appointment that you, on average, someone in an appointment probably takes in about 30 to 40% of what's said to them. So if you've got someone else there, they can take notes. They can also be your advocate. It goes for a lot of things, so endo, but also a lot of women's health. It can be quite emotional. It can be quite distressing when you're hearing things. So it's really important to work out beforehand what are the list of questions you want answered at that appointment, so that you both know, so that that person with you, if you don't feel able to ask those questions, can then ask those questions, and then support you in the decisions, which may not be, as a supporter of someone, you may not think that that's the right decision, or it's a decision you would make. But I think it's important not to influence someone with, oh, I wouldn't have that treatment because I heard someone had this treatment and it was really bad. I think you need to support someone to make their own decisions. But I can't stress enough how important it is to go to the appointments, to hear what's being said, and then to recap afterwards as well, because there will be things that you hear the person you're supporting doesn't hear, or doesn't take the meaning of, or maybe misses the significance of. So it's really important for that. And just be there, be a friend, a partner, a parent, be a support, be an advocate, be kind, be aware of pain, and be aware of worries about the condition. So on the condition itself, also on sex, fertility, work, social life, etc. Really important just to be there for someone, and just to support them in any way that you can. If we're talking about partners as well, be aware that sex can be painful, and there's lots of resources about there to talk about that, but you can still be intimate and still avoid the things that do hurt, such as sometimes penetration around different points in the cycle, but you can still be intimate. And it's important to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, then it can become an issue, and then that can become another stress in the relationship. So really important to, if you're supporting a partner, to bear that in mind and publicize. And I can't stress this again enough. The more you talk about it, the more you talk about it to your friends, to your family, to your work colleagues, then the more people will know about it, the more people will be educated about it, more people will know about the symptoms, and the more people will be helped with it. And it will help people at work, it will help people in schools, and it may help someone that you know also get diagnosed as well, and get diagnosed a bit quicker rather than having to wait for a long time. So it's really important, I think, to publicize it and do work with Endo UK, etc. And that's my talk done. So I'm going to hand over to Claudia.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. Amazing. So I think I'm going to be saying some very similar things. So let me try and share my screen.
Whilst Claudia is sharing her screen, I just want to encourage everyone to use the Q&A function. So we'll be answering questions after Claudia's talk.
Okay, so yeah, so how to support someone with endometriosis, but also supporting the supporters. So I just wanted to talk really a little bit about that. So I think it's so true. The worst thing in the world is watching someone that you love suffer in pain and just feeling really, really helpless. You want to make it all better. You feel scared because you're just seeing them in pain and struggling. You worry that you can't do anything right and you don't know what to do, which is why so many people, I'm sure, are here listening to this webinar. And it affects your life too, you know, so it can be really difficult, you know, to sort of be in that situation, just sort of trying to do the right thing all the time and wanting to get it right. And just, you know, so many people, you know, will always say, oh God, you know, I wish I could have that pain for you. And I'm sure lots of people have heard that from their loved ones. One day, and this is, you know, very well-known sort of experience of the world with people with endometriosis. So one day you can feel absolutely fine, and the next day you just feel awful, and it can be really unpredictable, and it can be really difficult to sort of live with that unpredictability as a sufferer. It can also be very difficult to live with it as someone who loves that person who's going through that. So you can sort of live with this sort of level of anxiety, and we see it a lot with people with endometriosis, you know, just sort of, you know, functioning on this sort of low level of, you know, anxiety the whole time, not knowing what symptoms are going to come when. And I think it's a similar thing if you're with someone, you know, if you're supporting someone, it's just a similar experience. You know, you're sort of living on this sort of level of anxiety, sort of wanting to know, not quite knowing how they're going to be, and these different things. So it's, you know, it's just to sort of acknowledge that and acknowledge, you know, how difficult that is for all of you. You can feel pushed away. So I think, you know, Rebecca talked a little bit about this and how, you know, it's so important that you don't feel as though you're pushed away, but I think it really can be. And I think, you know, a lot of our patients will say, you know, we say, you know, what support have you got? And, you know, they'll say, oh, I've got great support, I've got great family, I've got great friends, I've got a great partner. But whenever, you know, you're sharing things within that relationship, there's always a little bit of, you know, feeling, you know, oh God, I don't want to just put that on them again, or I don't, you know, you might have really dark thoughts, really difficult thoughts at your darkest moments, and you might not want them to know that because you know it will upset them. You will worry how that person will see you if you share your, you know, your worst, deepest, darkest thoughts. You think they won't understand, and you don't want to upset that person. So all these things are going through the mind of someone who's got endometriosis a lot of the time. At different times, now and again, and so that can sometimes, you know, make the supporter feel as though they're being pushed away. And I think it's just, you know, to acknowledge that and to recognize that there are lots of things at play there. And Rebecca, you know, put it so beautifully, you know, and I think as, you know, communication goes on and listening, and, you know, I'm going to talk about listening probably on the next slide, but, you know, just how important it is to sort of realize where these feelings and emotions and behaviors are coming from. And, you know, so women with endometriosis, you know, people with endometriosis, you know, can become very, very lonely. You can feel really isolated because you don't want to make a fuss. You don't want to, you know, explain everything all the time. You don't want to put it on, you know, if you've got friends who are going out all the time, going to parties, and you just can't go again, you know, you're not feeling up to it again, and it can just be exhausting to sort of try and explain that to all your friends, or you know, people who don't really understand, and you can just begin to isolate yourself a little bit from social groups and social settings. It can feel very lonely and difficult. It can feel as though you're going mad. It can feel as though people think you're going mad, so you're crazy, you know, just feel really unpredictable in your own mind and your own thoughts and how you're feeling about yourself, and that can be, you know, portrayed to other people. You think they're thinking that you're crazy. And then self-silencing, so this is actually quite a big thing. So, you know, people with, you know, chronic pain and endometriosis will, you know, you won't want to be seen as, you know, an invalid or someone who's, you know, always in pain and down. And so you can put on this, or try and put on this persona of being a different way, which again can be really exhausting, but you don't want to, you know, constantly be complaining to everybody. And so you'll try and play the part of someone, you know, that you wish you could be, but your physical limitations don't allow you to be every single time. And that can be the same with, you know, in social groups and social relationships, and also with medical professionals. So that's another reason why, you know, just echoing what Debbie said, you know, if you can have someone who can be a real advocate to you, because, you know, people will often, you know, go to a you know, medical consultation, that can break down because, you know, you can feel as though you're not being listened to, or as though that the person you're speaking to isn't understanding you, and so then you might try and just behave in a different way so that you don't get labelled as you know, being difficult or shouty or not compliant. And you know, that's dreadful. You should be able to say everything that you need to say, and sometimes, you know, you just need that supporter there with you to sort of see that that's what you're doing and see how they can encourage you around that. This is a really common thing, I think, when you're trying to be a supportive person, and Rebecca, you know, put it so well, and Debbie as well, you know, people often think, oh God, I don't know what to say. And so instead of, you know, thinking, well, what can I say? You try and say everything. And you want to make it better. You want to have an answer. You want to be the person that tells you exactly what you can do to make it right. And with endometriosis, that just isn't the case. And it's all about listening. And this is what Rebecca has said and Debbie has said. And it's so, so true. Listen to that person, because every single person is different. Every single person's experience will be different, and every day with that person will be different. And so, you know, you mustn't you know, try and talk over people. You mustn't try and say, oh well, actually, yes, that's what you mean, or my friend said this, or yes, oh, I know someone who did this. And you know, you need to really listen and pay attention to exactly what they are telling you and what they're saying. So yeah, you don't need to have all the answers. So I think that's so important. You know, you just you want to know what to say, you want to get it right, and you want to have the answers to make that person that you love feel better or be better. And it's just not the way. So as well as listening, which is obviously the most important thing, it can be really hard, you know, when you're having conversations, and we all do it, and it's just instinctively, oh yes, I know, oh gosh, yes, I know exactly what that is. But it can feel quite forced sometimes. So I've got this little slide up here, and there are some little just ways of having communication that actually, if you do it with your friends or your family or your partner, you might feel a bit stupid initially. You might think, oh God, they're totally going to see through me and see that I'm doing this. But actually just, you know, active listening, you know, just encouraging, just smiling, nodding, showing that you're listening, encouraging people through, you know, reflecting on what they've said. You know, they're like, oh God, I was so exhausted today. Instead of saying, oh yeah, no, I know, yeah, it's an exhausting day. You've done all this, you've done all that. No wonder you're exhausted. You can just sort of repeat, we say, you know, you're feeling exhausted, you know, and that just, and then just be quiet, and that allows that person to just elaborate on what they're feeling and explore that feeling a little bit more, rather than having to explain it or come up with a solution or an answer. Silence literally is, you know, can be hard to sit with, but is so powerful and useful. Acknowledging the emotion, you know, so even if someone's saying, oh no, I'm fine, you know, oh it's okay, I'm just a bit tired, you know, just sort of saying, well actually it seems like, you know, you're really exhausted, or that sounds really heavy what you're telling me, that sounds like that's a lot to go through. Just acknowledging the emotion. So yeah, try a few of those if you get a chance. It can be quite powerful and useful. And then suggestions, not directions. So again, you know, Rebecca and Debbie have both covered this. So rather than saying, oh, you know what, you should definitely, let's go out for a walk, it's going to do you the world of good, it'd be brilliant, let's do that, come on, you just need to get out there and feel better. You know, come up with suggestions, but you know, how would you feel about that? You know, and then allow them to say whatever they want to say in response. Or, you know, do you think maybe, you know, this might be helpful, not this will definitely help you. So just turn a phrase, which again, you know, it can feel really forced, but actually can make a real difference and a real shift in what you're saying. A little bit about mindfulness, big fan of mindfulness, purely because it can be, you know, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be like an all-round, you know, fully committed doing mindfulness meditation every day, but it can be very overwhelming when you're experiencing, well, when you have this long-term condition, which is just, you know, unpredictable a lot of the time and overwhelming about not only the experience that you're in at that moment of what you're experiencing, pain, not about what you might experience in the rest of the day, but also, you know, the rest of your life, you know, all the different things, all the big things, all the fertility, relationships, sex, work, everything. And that can be really all-consuming if you've got all those thoughts just processing around in your mind, and it can just be really overwhelming. And sometimes, even if it's just for a few moments, just being mindful of, you know, bringing yourself back to the present time and bringing yourself back to details which are present at that moment. And there's lots of different exercises, you know, that you can download, you know, Headspace and Calm and all these different things. But it can be quite useful for people with endometriosis if it's your thing and if you know, find it useful. But just, you know, becoming aware of your body and the connection of the sensations in your body, and just that can just, you know, help you feel a little bit more in control. And it's just another tool, and it's something that, you know, both the people who have endometriosis and the supporters, you know, you may find useful just as a separate tool. But to summarize just exactly what everyone else has said, you know, you don't, being a supporter, all those wonderful things and tips and hints that Rebecca and Deborah have shared are fantastic. But I think also just knowing that there's someone there that really cares about them, and you don't have to rush around fixing everything. Just being there and being present and being, you know, a supporter, you know, just the fact that you're you know, tuned into this webinar shows that you care and that you want to do things, and I think that's incredibly powerful. So don't ever feel helpless that you're not doing enough when you're doing that. I think is probably a really important message. And take care of yourself. It can be hard, it can be really hard, and it's okay to feel really sad seeing your, you know, the loved ones in pain and going through this, and that's really hard. And you know, if you're trying to be strong all the time, which people are because you want to be the strong supporter, that can be really hard. And it's just, you know, recognizing that there's support out there for you too, and you know, that you're doing, you know, a great job just by wanting to support, I think is, you know, I'm sure Rebecca would feel that very much, and anyone would. So just, yeah, so that's what I wanted to end on. So I hope that's been helpful.
Thank you so much, Claudia. It definitely has. I'm just going to try change the view of my screen so we can have all of you up, if this is possible. Okay. So I'm going to start with the first question. So one of our pre-sent questions. So it's from someone who whose daughter is at university in Belfast and is in almost constant pain. And so Northern Ireland seems to be further behind than the rest of the UK in terms of endometriosis. Other than living on painkillers, is there anything else they could do? So for example, diet. So it's quite a broad question, but hopefully we can provide some kind of practical support that they could do. And this is open to either Deborah or Claudia, whoever wants to.
Oh, sorry, I was losing my screen there with my clicker, sorry. Yeah, I think, you know, first and foremost, you know, she needs to make sure that she's had, you know, access some help and support and care from a medical professional, just to get, you know, to get diagnosis, to get treatment, and to discuss all the different treatments that are available to her, and have that discussion, and whether, you know, what she wants to try and not try. And there's lots of different things, you know, hormonal treatments and medical treatments and surgical treatments, and all those things that she should be seeing a gynecologist for. If she's at university and isn't able to access things there, then possibly, I'm not entirely sure, but if she's registered with her GP at her parents' house, then, you know, that might be something that she can access when she comes home, if that's her permanent address. So, but then the supportive stuff and the alternative things, I mean, I think, you know, Endo UK are the absolute go-to for all the, you know, the supportive therapies, the, you know, nutrition can help, acupuncture, pelvic floor physio is a big thing. There's lots of different things out there, and, you know, dialing into the support groups. I mean, I would say, you know, there are so many things virtually now, so that's definitely a place, so she's not feeling on her own. And I think, you know, if you're at university, I think it'd be really difficult, because you're, you know, exactly like I was saying, you're trying to be a person that's fun and exciting and meeting new people and going out and doing all these social things, and, you know, you're meeting new friends and new people, and you know, possibly struggling to get the support that you need because you're doing the self-silencing, you know, not wanting to show people, you know, the real you. So I would say, you know, get some proper medical advice and support, whether that's there or at home, and then Endo UK.
Thank you, Claudia. My next question is diet something that can help with endometriosis?
Should I take that one again? Sorry. Yeah, so I mean, there's lots and lots of stuff out there about diet and endometriosis, and you know, if you only have to Google it to find all sorts of different things. I think what I tend to say to people, which is just the advice that we have, is that, you know, there's not a huge amount of research out there. We know that everyone's digestive system is influenced by a hormonal cycle, so, you know, our bowel function, etc., changes through the cycle. We know that anybody that eats a load of bread or pasta is going to get really bloated. If you've got endometriosis, it's quite possible that's going to be worse for you. If you've got any kind of bowel involvement or anything like that, then again, you know, your bowel function isn't going to be quite as efficient. And so anything that you can do that makes it more efficient is going to make it more comfortable. So, you know, we do find, you know, historically, rather than evidence-based stuff, but that, you know, lots of women who have endometriosis find, you know, wheat, dairy and gluten can be triggers. But if you're going to start eliminating stuff, don't Google endometriosis diet and eliminate absolutely everything, because you'll just get really overwhelmed, feel like a failure, and then go and eat a load of chocolate. So, you know, eliminate one thing at a time, see if it makes a difference for you. What does for you might be the complete opposite for someone else. So again, you know, I think the support groups are really useful. There are nutritionists out there who, you know, see a lot of people with endometriosis, and you might, you know, find helpful sorts of books and stuff. But yeah, just be careful. Don't, you know, I don't think there's really, you know, don't feel as though if you eat or drink something, then you're going to make your endometriosis grow and be a lot worse. So I think, you know, again, it can, you know, that can just set you up to feel like a failure, and as though, you know, it's all on you, which it really isn't. If something makes you feel better, great. If it doesn't, don't bother.
Thanks, Claudia. So what endometriosis information sources would you recommend that aren't overwhelming and easy to understand?
I think Endo UK. So that would be somewhere to go to. NHS as well, Health Unlocked. They're all good things. I would go to resources that have been written in conjunction with people that have the condition and health professionals, rather than something that's written as an opinion piece, like for a newspaper or for a women's health article, unless it's co-written. But yeah, I definitely think like Health Unlocked, the NHS website, and Endo UK, and then leading on from there, from Endo UK, you have resources for different books and different things if people want to look at more things written by people with endo in conjunction with people like Andrew Horn and stuff. So that would be my thoughts. Yeah, if you look on the web, you'll find some wacky stuff. So I would stick to trusted resources.
Thank you, Debbie. And I think this is being covered, but I guess if anyone has like like things that they haven't mentioned before, and this can be a question for everyone. And so what helpful or valuable things can I do for my partner without having to ask? If what you've kind of covered in your talks is kind of covered it all, that's fine, I can just move on. But if you've got anything else, just let us know.
I think being there, I think that's the main thing, and then just listening to them, and then the practical stuff. Like if someone's got really bad period and it's really awful, don't be expecting them to go out, or don't be expecting them to have your dinner on the table and all the washing and ironing done, and just being a bit more flexible and just being a nice person. I think that would be my top tips.
Thank you. And I've got a question here, which I'm quite interested to know the answer. And if there's, there are any good recommendations, but someone's asked, what app would you recommend for tracking symptoms and cycles?
There are loads.
That's why I was like, oh, maybe Debbie has like the top 10.
And I think it depends on what you want to track. So some of them will track your symptoms and your cycles. Some of them track them with an aim to looking at pregnancy, and some of them track them with an aim to looking at periods. So I think you have to look at your end point as to what you want. Lots of them are free, and then you can pay for additional add-ons which will give you more information. I think there's one called Clue and there's one called Flow that seem to be quite popular. If you're an old-fashioned person, maybe like myself, you might just need a pencil and paper and a calendar. So you don't actually have to go very high-tech at all. I've had people bring in spreadsheets that they've compiled like on Excel and things with all their dates for their periods and tracking their cycles that way. So I think it's whatever your main outcome is, and you might have to try a couple, like the diet thing, you might have to try a couple before you think, okay, this is a good one for me, or I really didn't like that one because I didn't like the way it didn't predict well for me, or it didn't take into account some of my symptoms. There isn't anything out there that's specifically designed for endo, I don't think. So yeah, I think have a good look through. A lot of them are free, so you could download them, have a look at them, see what information they're asking you to put in, try it for a couple of months, and then if it doesn't work, I'd move on.
Sounds great. My next question is, how do people deal with it at work, especially working in education? And I'd just like to say for like before anyone answers, we do have some resources. So we've got the endometriosis friendly employer scheme. So that's where employers can opt in and then receive kind of materials, an introductory webinar from us, and training on how to make their workplace friendly for people with endometriosis. There's also on a website, well, I think there's a guide about what you can give to that you can give to your employer so that they can become more aware. And I think there's also something about what you can do, so the questions that you can ask your employer. But if you do need any kind of further support finding those resources, just kind of get in touch with us via email. But Debbie or Claudia, do you have anything else that you'd like to contribute? Or Rebecca, like how have you found that at work? People supporting you?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to talk over anyone. So I've been extremely lucky, and I was going to mention the endometriosis friendly employer scheme because I know there is a list on there as well that you can check on Enzo UK to see who actually is an endo friendly employer. There are, I'm sure that there's things in place at your work. Hopefully, especially with COVID happening, I'm hoping that they're going to be a lot more like forward thinking and supportive because of everything that's happened. I'm just upfront straight away. I always make sure that I put it on my application before I even get the job on my occupational health. And I sit down with my employer and say, this is how it affects me. It's unpredictable, but when I will work, I'll work hard. So just be forward with them, be honest with them. There's things that you can use. I get the little heat packs that you can stick on your back, so they're helpful. I am less conspicuous. I walk around with a hot water bottle in my dress or my pants. Like, I don't hide the fact that I need that hot water bottle. But also I struggle to sit down for long periods of time. Just make sure that you speak to the occupational health and HR, so that you've got the right equipment at your desk if you're sitting down all the time. So the right chair, the right height of the table, all these little things make a huge difference. So yeah, just look out, see what they've got out there that can make your life as easy as possible, because the more they can do for you, the more work they'll get out of you, and that's a really good connection, I think.
Thank you. Debbie or Claudia, do you have anything to add? If not, I'll go on to the next question. All right.
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, so every appointment my partner has is over the phone. Plus rating times are really bad in their region. How can they advocate for them if they're not able to see the doctor in person? Yeah, that's it.
I would say, I think most places are now doing have virtual systems as well. So you could ask about that. So, you know, and if it's a virtual consultation, then it's much like this. So, you know, you can sit next to your partner and have that conversation. I mean, it's not ideal. It is hard when it's on the phone and you can't see the person face to face. I mean, lots of places are face-to-face appointments now. So, you know, you should be able to request that, but everywhere has different policies for different reasons. You know, we do telephone appointments. We have people who are on speakerphone and they say, I'm here with my partner. And so you're doing a consultation with two people there. And I think that's absolutely, you know, that's fine. And that's, you know, great. I mean, obviously, like I say, it's much better if it's face to face, but sometimes it can't be. But you should just generally be able to request it or go on a speakerphone.
Thank you, Claudia. So my next question is, so someone's daughter has had surgery 5 months ago, and unfortunately the pain has not improved. And the consultant said the operation went well, has told her to speak to the GP, but the GP is not specialised in endometriosis, and so finds it hard to find any solution to help the pain. Do you have anything that you could recommend for this?
Should I go again?
Yeah. Oh, go.
I was just going to say, so it actually, you know, sadly can be the case where, you know, surgery doesn't really make everything better. So as long as you've explored all the other, you know, hormonal treatments and things like that, you can be referred to a specialist pain clinic. That would be really the next place to go. And they've got all sorts of different things that they can do to help. And then, you know, then into that comes the, you know, the pelvic physio and things like this, because you can have pain for various different reasons. So you can have pain from the, you know, active inflammatory endometriosis, but then you can also have pain because, you know, your pain pathways are mixed up, or because you've got such, you know, tension in your pelvic floor because you've just been sitting there in pain for so long, you know. So all these different elements of the pain can be addressed in different ways. So yeah, there's definitely more that can be done. And if you're being seen in a centre, in an endometriosis centre, you can try and reach out to the nurse, because they tend to have, you know, bit more, you know, flexibility with things like that, and a little bit more signposting. But yeah, pain management team, you should be able to access that.
Thank you, Claudia.
I was just going to add as well that you are entitled to a second opinion. So if you're not getting on and you're not happy with the first one, or you just want someone else to have a look at things, you can ask to be re-referred to someone else. So that might be something that you might need to look for. And also with the reorganisation of primary care that is happening in some places, but not very well formed at the moment, you may find that in the future there may be a specialist in women's health in primary care. So it will be useful, and it may not be in your practice, it may be in a group of practice. So that might be something to try and source out. But yeah, as well as a pain clinic, I think you can ask to go to see someone else to talk about it.
Thank you, Debbie. My last and final question sorry, I just lost my place. Bear with me for a moment. So how long does a typical pain episode of endometriosis last?
It's
Open
really,
to everyone.
it's really, really individual, I think. And I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think you can say. So for some people, it will be really short and intense. For others, it will go on for a few days. And as Rebecca said, it can be mid-cycle, it can be with the period, it can be just before the period. It can be all the time. It can be when you have your bowels open, when you pass urine. So I don't think that there's anything that we could say. It's sort of like how long is a piece of string? And maybe if we could crack that, then that would be great. But it's so individual, and pain is such an individual thing. So that would be my response. But if Claudia or Rebecca's got anything else.
Yeah, I'd just repeat that really. I think it comes to knowing your body, and that's why making notes of things is really good. There is a document on Endometriosis UK's website on the, I think it's the publications part, which allows you to track your pain managed, so you can see where it is, what's triggered it, and so on. So just know your own body. It is really useful to do that. And again, your loved ones, they all notice things that you don't. So get them to jot things down too.